Hey everybody, Forrest and Dennis back with you here at Life Assist, and we are going to tackle part 2 of our Airway series, which we're going to be focusing on what are called Advanced Airways.
Advanced Airways.
Advanced
Airways.
Airways.
The last one was a BLS, basic Airways, these are ALS. What is an Advanced Airway?
Yeah, so an Advanced Airway is kind of just a level up from the BLS Airways.
Okay.
And what it does is it requires a little bit more training. It's a little bit more invasive, and it just requires a little bit more skill. Okay. Right? So the BLS Airways, you can't really miss when you place them. These, you got to maneuver a little bit and a little bit trickier.
BLS, so easy a caveman can do it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
So how many types of Advanced Airways are there?
Yeah, so there are 2 different models. Today we are just going to be focusing on what are called esophageal, laryngeal, tracheal type tubes. Okay. Okay, so we're just going to focus on those 2.
Those are big words.
Yes, I know. And hopefully I'll explain those as the video goes.
Okay. Okay. So who can use these? Are they similar to like the BLS where like anybody on the rig can use them, or?
So these types of airways, I would say, are more paramedic level, the special training for paramedics. Now, depending on the state, they might have intermediate paramedics that got special training for an airway like this. But I would say most of all, this is going to be a paramedic type skill. Okay. Not EMT.
Definitely, because you can see like these things are not.
I know.
For the faint at heart.
Yeah, exactly.
What is this exactly? What is this thing right here?
Okay, so this is a type. This is a brand name of one of these type of advanced airways, and it's called a Combitube.
So it's a brand name is Combitubes.
Yep.
And the police are still looking for Mr. Ploppers, a penguin that escaped the Sacramento Zoo and has been on the run since Tuesday morning. This just in, I'm getting word from our newsroom that the Combitube has been discontinued. We're recommending the King Airway to your customers going forward. So you heard it here first. Can I get a warm up?
And what it is considered, it's considered what's called a blind insertion device. And I actually call it kind of an in-between device, because if you're using the BLS Airways, right, and all of a sudden that's not working due to just some reason, there's too much fluid in the airway, you're not getting good ventilation, stuff like that, you might need to go to this. Okay. On the flip side, when we go to our next video series, which is the endotracheal tubes, sometimes those are very hard to place because of a patient's airway is difficult, in the anatomy. Right. So they might divert from that and then go back to this type of airway, which is a little bit easier than, say, the advanced airways to insert. Like ET
and probably
tubes.
A little bit easier on the patient too. You want less trauma, the better. Yeah. Right. And so what does this thing do? What does the Combitube do, like, in general?
Same thing as the BLS, and in a sense, it basically establishes an airway. Okay. So if somebody is not breathing efficiently on their own, and they need to have us come in and help them out to ventilate them, this is going to provide that vehicle to actually ventilate them more properly. Okay. Because we know airway is everything in an emergency.
Right. Like that's one of the ABCs.
Yeah.
Right?
If you're not breathing, nothing else matters.
All right. And so are you going to use this on like a conscious victim who's like still kind of
let's try that. Hey, Ryan, can you come in here? We're going to try. Okay, Ryan ran away. But anyways, no, this is absolutely for unconscious patients. The gag reflex will kick in immediately. So unconscious or heavily medicated patients that have their vocal cords in that area paralyzed, like some of the drugs we sell that do that, you would have to use that.
So there are some things you could do to make it easier on the patient too, or make it easier on the person that's administering it.
And then one last thing I kind of mentioned already, but remember I said a difficult airway, right? So if we tried to go to that endotracheal tube and their airway was weird in the anatomy, we just couldn't get it into the trachea, we might come back to this because this is going to be a little bit easier to insert.
A little bit easier.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, and so the OPA, we kind of knew and went over where those were placed. Where are these ones going to be placed? Where are they going?
You're probably going to laugh, but guess what? This is designed to be placed in the esophagus, which is
the esophagus is the stomach.
Is the pathway to the stomach.
Okay. So an airway is going into the stomach.
Yeah, of course.
That was a big no-no.
Totally normal.
Okay.
I'm going to explain later.
Please do.
Okay. All right, moving on.
And so you got the Combitube. Are
Yep.
there any other types of these types of tubes that are
Yep.
kind of a competitor?
So this is going to be the King Airway. This one came out, I believe, in 2003, and this is definitely going to be kind of the hybrid of this, right?
Okay.
Very similar in design. It's a tracheal, laryngeal, esophageal airway tube. The big difference between these, which we're going to talk about, is that the Combitube has two tubes, and the King has only one tube, but they do pretty much similarly, do the same type of
So
thing.
like the anatomy and the makeup of these. So you want to go over that? Like what makes up this Combitube?
Yeah.
There's a lot of moving pieces here.
A lot of moving pieces. So we'll start from the top. First thing we have, there's two tubes that kind of integrate into one, but they're actually still separated.
Okay.
This blue one is the one that leads to these little ventilation ports, right?
Okay.
And then the clear one leads to the bottom where there is no a very small ventilation port.
Gotcha.
It has these two cuffs which are inflated. They secure the device, and they're inflated by using this.
Okay.
And basically, its idea is to go into the esophageal inlet, which is a pathway to the stomach. And then when we inflate this bottom tube, it blocks the esophagus.
Okay.
And then allows these air little ventilations to only go what's left, which would be in the trachea.
Into the trachea. So those two are like little balloons that
Yeah.
once you get it inserted, you
Yep.
inflate it and it creates a seal between
Yes.
the esophagus and the top of the
Absolutely.
throat.
The good news is that when we demonstrate, even if you say accidentally put it in the trachea first, you're still okay because we have that hole at the bottom that we can still ventilate the trachea with if it went directly in. So you really can't lose with this device.
Okay.
It's got a lot of little extra features here.
Does it come with I see this is next to it. Like what is
Yeah.
this thing? Is an extra...
So this comes part of the package,
Uh-huh.
and this is what's called a gastric contents deflector. And I'm going to leave it at that.
I can probably put
And-
my mind about
right.
what that does. It
It
deflects
can-
gastric content.
It connects, and when I go do the demonstration, I'll give you the full thing. And
Gotcha.
then
So you're connecting it to the part of the tube that's going into the stomach, the esophagus.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I'll show you what it does after that.
And so I see the two blue parts here. Are they kind of
Yeah.
the balloons too on the King Airway?
Same idea. So what we're going to do is this is designed to be inserted into that esophageal inlet. Tubes are both inflated, which we'll show.
Okay.
And then basically it blocks the entrance, so there is no hole here at the bottom. But it blocks entry into the stomach, and then these ventilation ports here go right into the trachea.
Do you still have like a ventilation port out
We
for
do.
stomach?
Yeah, so both of these do have, and only the Combitube comes with it, but they do have a port for suctioning that we can use. So the Combitube, the clear one that goes into the stomach, we can insert that and suction out, which I'll demonstrate. And then the King tube also has a dedicated line for a suction catheter that goes down there as well.
Now, this does not look. This is about the size of a newborn, right?
Yeah.
And so, like,
This is the size of a small, medium-sized cat.
right. And
Yeah.
so you're not going to. How do you size these?
Right.
Like, are there different sizes? Are there infant sizes?
Combitube was designed only for adults, so
Only adults
they did not make
You must be
pediatric
this
size.
tall to ride this ride.
Yes, and it is basically it's determined by the French scale system. Remember those? we
Similar
talked
to a
about?
suction tube, yeah.
And there's either small adult or regular adult, and it's based on how tall they are.
Okay.
So from 4 to 6 feet would be the smaller version, and then from 5 feet and up is going to be the large version, right?
Okay.
And that is this is the
That's for
large
the
version.
Combitube. Is it the same thing for the King Airway?
It is a little different. So the King Airway gets a little bit more tricky. They have a color-coded system, which includes 7 different sizes. Okay, and it starts out. The lower sizes go from weight, so in kilograms. Once we get past 2.5, from 3 to 5, then it goes to how tall you are. So it has a little bit of change, similar but a little bit more tricky on the sizing.
Gotcha. And I know that we've already discussed this, but like in the package for the Combitube, like
Yeah.
what do you get? You get the deflector
Yeah, so you get all
anything
kinds of
else?
stuff. So the
Like,
packaging, I mean, this is the Combitube packaging.
That's a blanket.
I know. I mean, are you serious? Look at
Yeah.
this thing. But inside, if I flatten it out a little bit, you got the tube, and then it comes with the syringes. Now, the syringes are obviously what are going to inflate the two tubes. So you got that there.
To do the tubes,
Yep.
and then you've got the deflector.
And then the deflector is going to be in here,
Uh-huh.
and then also the suction catheter.
Okay.
So it's all packaged nice and neatly like that, but it is a fairly large package.
Still fits in most Airway bags.
Yeah,
Right.
because it kind of rolls up.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Okay. And is that the same thing for the King Airway?
Yeah, so the King Airway has a couple different packaging layouts. So you can buy just the King Airway itself. It comes in the packaging, and it's just the Airway.
Okay.
So it's gonna be like that. We do also sell King Airway kits. These are pretty cool. They have not only the King Airway, but they come with a syringe too.
Okay.
For it to inflate, and then it comes with a lubrication package.
Gotcha.
So they have kits and singles available.
Are these sterile? Like, what on the packaging are
Yeah.
we looking for? Because, I mean, they look sterile because they're probably going pretty deep.
Yeah, so 100% all advanced airways are definitely going to be sterile. So if you see any, for salespeople out there, if you see any ripped package or anything like that, that is a no-go. We want to make sure these are sterile. The typical things we're going to look for, basically, just as the other videos, a lot of it's the same. We're going to have the manufacturer name, right? We're going to have its description. We're going to have the size. We're going to have expiration dates, date of manufacture. We're going to have lot numbers, warnings. There's going to be all kinds of stuff, cautions, instructions.
Typical stuff you'd see
Typical
kind of similar
stuff.
to like a catheter or something
Yeah,
like that.
and you
A
can
little
even
bit more.
see the Combitube comes with this huge insert, gives you a full-on directions on how to use everything, the size, the weight. I mean, it just really is if you read the directions, super, super easy to use. And for salespeople out there, if you're having trouble figuring out which one your customer's using, again, as we always say, snap a picture of the front of it and just, right side up, of course. And we should
Well,
be able to.
you could send it to me. I'll just Photoshop it.
We'll do it. We should be able to figure it out.
Okay. Now, speaking of sales, like,
Yeah.
what kind of questions are you kind of looking, like, when you go in to sell this thing? Like,
Yeah.
what are you looking for? How do you bring this up?
I want to know. So it's weird. So when it comes to these types of airways, protocols of that agency can make a difference, right?
Right.
Some people say, if you need an advanced airway, you're going to always start with a King tube, or you can try intubation twice, and then if you can't get it, then you go to a King tube.
Right.
So kind of my biggest thing is kind of what are your current protocols, and then of course, what are you currently using,
Okay.
right? We want to know the brand, the type. What do you like about it? Is there a feature on it that you specifically have to have? Like, I have to have a suction port,
Right.
or something like that.
Yeah,
or
I gotta have that deflector because
It's-
last time I just had some bad
yeah,
experiences.
you got to
I'm not
vomit
doing
all
it
over
anymore.
you. I have to have the kit. I need the lube. We need the syringe. It's too
Right.
hard to dig for it. Stuff like that. And then based on what they're getting, then that's when we say, well, hey, are you willing to try something else?
Yeah.
Take a look at it. Just see what it's all about, and you'll get a pretty good idea.
A lot of agencies, like for infants and toddlers,
Yeah.
this is kind of like a very sensitive subject. Like, there's some that don't touch it, some that will. So
Absolutely. So you just got to kind of feel out that specific agency, find out what they're using, what they like about it, and if they're willing to try something new.
got it.
Okay, guys. So that is an overview of the Combi and King Tube, and guess what? Now we're going to demonstrate how they work. See you in a minute. That was frickin' nailed.